seagulls follow the shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, it is a Monday lunchtime, but it's time to bring back the old Lunchtime Monday Club because it's just not been the same without, me. It used to be great fun on a Monday lunchtime, and we are bringing those days back on the Bhoycie Bus. I'm delighted to be joined today by Stevo Matt. Steve, are you off every Monday, or is this just a one-off?
This is 6 days off work, mate. So I'm into my third day off, so no bad.
Good, mate. I know you've been a busy boy doing a lot of training recently. You've been working hard. You've had the heat down. But it's good to get you on the bus whenever you're available, mate. It's great to have you on.
Aye, well, that's the thing. Doing a lot of training at work, mate. It's a bit stressful, to be honest. But sorted now, and then I'll be into a bit of normality. So my shifts and whatnot will be a lot more predictable. We'll sort more stuff out. So
we'll get it sorted, mate. We'll get it sorted. Big plans for you, big boy, this year, definitely. Anyway, we're going to look at yesterday's game again. Obviously, I had the pleasure. Well, I normally call it a pleasure at Terry's company. The big man was drinking water, not even milk yesterday. I was like, he just felt different, eh? I said to him off air, I went, that can't carry on. You're going to need to seriously get back on the bevy soon because me and you don't function well together when one of us is sober. But yeah, we're going to look at yesterday's game. Stevo, our support is going to be harder to please than ever. When you actually look at yesterday, it felt underwhelming. Nearly 30 shots on goal. Are we becoming spoiled? 12 out of 20 EPL managers have been sacked this year. Is this really the territory Ange Postecoglou is going to want to go to? We will discuss it all today on the bus. That was my best impression of David Logue that I've got on Sunday. I'm trying to set agendas like he can. Anyway, Stevo, before we do that, we always do all that good stuff on the bus. I hope I'm sounding okay
yes.
in the live chat. It's a wee bit echoey at my end, but new surroundings, new acoustics, Stevo. It's just taking a wee bit of adapting to a heat change sometimes, it's mad, man. But anyway, as long as you can hear me okay, that's sound. All that good stuff. Please subscribe if you've not already. We rocketed up the subscriber numbers at the weekend, by the way. Just in case anyone thinks any drama might put people off. Turns out a wee bit of popcorn now and then, Steve-O. And I know you're on my side, which I love. And I appreciate it, by the way, because me and you've had good dialogue about it. And I do appreciate your support, mate. Also, if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, Scott Cameron, like Les Watts, like Gary Brown. Who else is there? Alistair Jack, yes, mate. Celts on the Hill. Patrick McLaughlin as well, who's going to get sacked for his job, he says, because he keeps watching the bus beyond his lunch break. But anyway, all that good stuff out the road. No more t-shirts to buy. They're all ordered, Stevo. You'll have yours soon, mate. On its way. Let's get stuck into it. Yesterday's game. I think this is the debate we need to have with ourselves, honestly. I think when we do Bustalgia in 5 years on Ange's season 2, we'll be ranting and raving about it. Are we becoming a bit spoiled? Are we just expecting, if it's not 5-0, we've been pretty average today, are we looking for failures in the team a wee bit too much? Where over the course of the season, what, with 30 games now, 28 wins. Steve, you take that before a ball's kicked every year. Is there a wee bit in it? Because the reason I'm asking you this as well, just to expand a wee bit, is the amount of comments I've seen retrospectively after the PMP going, we were crap yesterday, or we didn't play well, and look at the numbers. If that's us not playing well, are we getting a wee bit greedy with what our expectations are for Celtic?
Oh, it's a conundrum, isn't it? It's the old cliche, you want your cake, you want to eat it and all that. But, you know, we have been to an extent spoiled, haven't we? You know, like some of the performances that were put in and goals have been flowing and the pace and the tempo and everything. Every game's just been largely a joy to watch. So when you have these more sticky games, as you say, do you maybe expect a wee bit more? Well, maybe are we spoiled? I don't think we're spoiled. That comes back into that whole nonsense. Whenever folks say if you're of a certain generation and your thing was the last 10 years that you have no concept to, grinding through.
I hear you.
So I don't think we're necessarily spoiled. I would probably say that fans' opinions are kind of echoed. I'd imagine that's the way the manager feels. That's probably the way the players feel after a game like that they think we should have done better. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe we've been trained into having that sort of outlook on our games where it's not...
Steve, I've got a contrasting comparison for you. Now, obviously, this is fresh in the mind because me and Phil and Liam did Bustalgia on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It was based on Rodgers' third season, obviously only lasted two-thirds of it, and then Lenny came in. Remember, it was turgid football then. An hour of homework, mate. I watched every video Phil sent me before it. You look back and you go, fucking hell, if that was boring, I don't know. I'm missing something here. But I remember at the time feeling a bit bored of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that only took 2 years under Rodgers transforming our hopes, our aspirations, our ambitions for Celtic to then, by then, season 3 go, it's a wee bit more now. Yeah. I don't want folk to fall in that trap with Postecoglou's team because I do think we're a wee bit out of form, but I think the form that I'm saying we're out of is way, way higher than it has been under plenty of other managers in the past.
100%. The way I would compare it is do we expect too much from certain players? Now, I would always say players can't be brilliant every single game. So it's the same when you put them all together, and to stop them from being an individual, put them together, you can't be brilliant every single game. We'll touch on it. I thought the first half, I did think the first half was a bit turgid. I did think it was a wee bit sort of pedestrian, a bit sluggish.
I agree.
But at the same time, you've got to look at who we're playing. You're playing a really compact Ross County. They're fighting for their lives. They've always been quite industrial behind the ball. So you've just got to play each match as you find it. I don't think particularly that we're getting too greedy or whatever. I think it's maybe more the fact that we're aware, maybe acutely aware, that there's a big game coming up. Because of that, you want to be, you want to be smashing teams, you want to be flying, and you get that wee bit of self-doubt. So I don't necessarily think it's folk have been greedy. I think they're maybe just like strangely uneasy. I think they would have wanted to see more before next week.
I agree with you, because the mood music can change. Me and Terry spoke about it yesterday. I said, look, see, at the end of the day, imagine if we dropped points yesterday. The momentum shift from the media to everyone turns into 6 points, or even if we drew 7 points, 2 derbies to go, suddenly they seem to be the ones in some sort of ascendancy, and it's us on the ropes a wee bit. We've navigated, I think, the last 4 games domestically, Stevo, I have not found a particularly compelling watch. I'll go further than that. I don't even think in the League Cup final we were a particularly brilliant version of Celtic.
No.
But the reality is we're getting the job done. And as Celtic fans, I like to think we're a wee bit more honest than them. We want Celtic to be performing very well, but we also want, with that, the points, the trophies, etc. Rangers, I think, have muddled their way through under Beale, Stevo.
Yeah.
And get all the plaudits in the world for that. Celtic have maybe done, 2 months of that recently. I don't think it's anything to do with particularly Rangers challenge or anything. I just feel Celtic have been so electric at moments in this season. In fact, the first half of the season is probably the most electrifying first half to a season we've ever had, including a 9-0 win away. It's been devastating. Now I just think we put unfair expectations on these guys. And sometimes they need a wee bit of acknowledgement as well. How long their season's been so far. You look at Callum McGregor, 180 minutes over international duty, and we expect him just to carry on, always being 9.5 out of 10. Sometimes we've just got to take a wee step back and go, do you know what? This is a good place we find ourselves in right now, not a bad one. And Saturday comes around, and you're right, we would have liked a bit of gloss before the Saturday, and I agree with you on that, because I think it just gives you that wee bit of swagger. But here's the thing, is that a fan's perspective, not the team's? I think the team's unaffected if they win 5-0 or 2-0 last week. I happen to think they'll buy into Postecoglou's philosophy where another day is a new day. And don't worry about what happened yesterday. We'll get on with it now.
We as fans will have different expectations, obviously, to players. The players will be well drilled. They've got this, take it game by game and just keep doing what you're doing and the results will come, right? I think maybe to an extent, there'll be a wee bit like the fans where they're thinking, how many chances do we create? How many shots do we have in target? We need to do better. So that'll be drilled into them because, Postecoglou's set up this almost perfectionist idea where he wants it all as well. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes,
Steve, I'm going to ask you a very quick question. Sorry to interrupt you, but just because you've triggered something there. He said again at the weekend, we don't look at the results, we focus on the performances.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel as a fan?
Well, I think that's slightly reassuring because, as we say, if you want to break it down, football isn't written on a piece of paper, right? But if you want to look at the stats and you want to look at the passes, the chances, all that, it equates to a good performance on paper. And I think, whereas folk might not want to think about it, I said this before when we spoke about looking at players and profile and stuff. I think Ange is very much a guy that will look at the stats and he'll look at the figures and he'll look at the facts. Obviously, look at it with his eyes. Your eyes don't lie. They're the most obvious things. And we as fans look at it with our eyes. One thing I would say is, and I've said this before, when I'm at games, it's different from watching the telly. But then sometimes watching the telly is different from watching the telly in our time. Because, for example, we're watching bloody FIFA or whatever it was yesterday with that camera angle. It was one of the worst going. So you could barely see parts of the park. So what I mean by that is when I watch a game at Parkhead and you get that high vantage point, you can see it. You can sometimes see what's happening and you can go, we actually did play really well. Whereas when you're just viewed in on this wee bit where it's chasing the ball, you don't see what's going on around it and it can blur your perception of what you see.
Totally
and I
fair.
think as well, the camera angle maybe to that extent, because there's times I was watching and going, what the fuck? Where is such, I couldn't see anything. So I think Postecoglou, looking at the performance, I'm no fazed by that because I think by and large, if you want to break it down stats, we did do well. The eyes don't lie, but we watch the games and we have this perception of what we're going to get. If he's happy and he says he's happy, then you've got to kind of trust that. If he tells you he's not happy or he wants things for improvement, then that maybe makes you think, well, maybe I was right. Managers will always defend their team, right? But I don't think he's a liar. I don't think he's down that. And I just mean like Lennon, bitterly disappointed You know, barely did. No, mate, shite. You know, I don't think he's ever going to do that sort of politician where he's just going to try and defend his team blindly. So, listen, I think that it could have been better.
Yes.
But I'm
going to go with David a wee bit here. As I told David yesterday in the public comments, he was watching the show back. I tend to bring up most of his comments, and it's beginning to annoy me that my bias towards him. I must just agree with you, David, mate. He thinks the results line is fluff for the media, which I was inclined to think. I think you actually kind of balanced out a wee bit better there, Stevo, than I had in my mind. In sport, if you don't get results, you just don't last, regardless of the performances. Ange knows that at Celtic, his team has to play well and win. It's a difficult task to always keep our fans happy with that regard, Stevo, because we kidded on when Ange got the job. We were all going to sit back and accept the transitional season.
Yeah, that's madness, isn't it?
6 months in, we'd have chased him out the door if it had just been a mixed bag of results and we were 10, 12 points behind. So, notwithstanding that, I think Ange is one of those guys, though. He's a born winner. He's got trophies in the back, and I think I think what he tries to do is go, well, the natural outcome is if we perform well, we will win most of our games.
I know.
So it's a good line. Is it fluff? Maybe a bit harsh, David, but I do get where he's come from. I think Ange he's protecting a lot of what his methods are because he doesn't want the team to change the style. I don't know if you've noticed the amount of late goals they've got has never been Celtic sticking, for example, Bobo up top for the last 5 minutes back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Just going, hoof it. He's never really changed his approach.
No.
He's like, just keep doing what you do. And the game's got as long as it's got. So by the end of the 95, 96 minutes, whatever it will be now, we'll get those goals. Just believe in yourself. And it was fascinating when I did the Bustalgia on Friday. I watched those highlights I was telling you, Stevo.
Yeah.
Scott Brown's interviewed in the midst of it all, and he says, Neil Lennon, first game in charge as caretaker boss at Tynecastle, remember? He only got appointed that way. Took them in at half-time, it was 0-0, and he went, if Hearts score, just remember you'll score too. Be patient and do what you do. No, sorry, it was the Scottish Cup final, he said it. Half-time, Celtic had been ranked rotten in the Scottish Cup final. And he said at half-time, he went, they might score one. I think Lennon knew they were going to score. Put it that way, and he went, don't change what you do. You will get the 2 goals if you just keep doing your thing. Which is funny because folk don't want to hear that about Lennon. But it's the reality. And I think Postecoglou is very much like that ahead of every game. And I think that's why he definitely doesn't panic. If maybe from our side, we're like, only 30 shots on goal, only 2 goals. Everyone's out of form, Stevo. I think he's very relaxed about that because he's seeing as at least attempt to do the right things. And I think he's aware that as a person and a professional sportsman, you can't always, unless you're Callum McGregor, play the exact same level week in, week out. There's going to be dips.
No, that's exactly what I was saying in talking about the collective. You can't, every player can't be brilliant week in, week out. There is going to be up and downs, and it's all about the team to come together and balance each other out, pick each other up, and grab the slack. I think in terms of the just keep doing what you're doing, it's interesting because I do agree that it's a good methodology to have. Just to be positive and believe what you're doing and keep drilling it in. And by doing that and not diverting from it, you should technically get better at it, and it'll bring better results. Just to sort of side caveat it, not to bring down the mood. But do you think that idealistic approach maybe only services us particularly well in Scotland because on large the opposition and the concentration levels and fitness levels of the team aren't on par with us? But if you go to Europe and it's just keep doing what you're doing, just keep doing what you're doing, you're maybe 2-0 down, just keep doing what you're doing, you'll come back. Does it then become not suitable? Does it not transition out with the domestic domain?
Stevo, no one wants to hear you say that, mate, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that's where it becomes bravado, naivety, or a belief that I've not seen yet in Europe, I'll be honest. I have watched 2 group stages so far. I think the first one he gets a hell of a free pass. I felt this year someone's not been purposeful enough, firstly at boardroom level, at transfer recruitment level, whether it be Ange pushing them hard enough, or whether the board have not been ambitious enough. I think there was more resources there to have built a more compelling summer transfer window last year to make us compete in the Champions League better. However, in the group stage of that, plaudits, not points. I go back to it all the time. I wonder if the jury will be more, not necessarily out this time. Once the Champions League group phase has been done, what will that be? December this year? December, that we'll have done the 6 games by then. I wonder if everyone will be willing to give free passes out there, or there might be just a wee bit of scrutiny ramped up. In my opinion, that's not being harsh. I think everyone deserves to be scrutinised. Like, you're paid a hell of a lot of money to be the manager of Celtic. It's a privileged position. And again, this isn't a criticism, we're speculating. But if we were to take the same approach, and it is just, there's one way of playing, one system, I sound like Bono now, one love. But like, if you only can play that way, you're right. What if that's you're getting found out? You're 4 games in, and before you know it, you just keep doing the same thing. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a great brand, but who's it benefiting?
I think the only thing
brand Celtic.
I think the only thing that will maybe get the manager a pass, and I don't want this to be the pass that he gets, is dependent on what resources were provided. You know, if we're given limited adaptation to what we've already got, limited funds to the already, projected multi-millions, and then all the stuff that comes at the other end, your season tickets are still to come, your other 5 new tops are going to bring out and everything else. So, like, the only way it gets a pass is if we get a snide amount of signings. Even then, you still think, the foundations of the team that we've got should at least be able to give a better account of himself. So it's a kind of sway. I think that's the only pass he gets in terms of that, is if we don't really get much extra. If we do get the investment that we hope for, and we spend some of those reserves that we've got, and then we go out and do the exact same thing, then we're 100% within our rights to come out and say, well, what the fuck's going on here? It'll be interesting. The summer is going to be quite compelling. People are talking about folk maybe leaving. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But folk have to come in. And I think based on yesterday, and I think you guys touched on it, Mark's mentioned it as well, where on paper, what we have in reserve is maybe not as good as we think it is. So we definitely need to ramp that up.
How many players, realistically though, in the water Celtic swimming, Stevo, can we expect to have as backup of the levels of Hatates, Jotas, etc.? Because the realistic side of it is there's an agent in their ear going, you're not sitting in Scotland on the bench, mate. Not right for long. Not for long anyway. You maybe get a year out of this, and then an agent or a manager or whatever it is starts whispering in their ear, there's only so long you can do that. Your career's going to dwindle. So because of the waters we swim in, as I say, I do think we need to accept, whilst the squad, and you're right, on paper we thought it was a lot beefier, if you like, do you know what I mean, of quality. But I also think there has to be a drop-off when you're Celtic and you play in the SPL from the first choice players, the first pick players, the guys you can ring off like that, to those on the bench. If there weren't, we wouldn't be in the SPFL. Let's be real here. We wouldn't have wage structures that we do. We've got to harness that ambition. But that is not me trying to, I'm the opposite of that. I want as many good players as we can possibly get.
I know, mate.
Bang the drum long enough. But I also, realistically, I look at it and go, well, of course there's not going to be 4 Hatates and, options in midfield, because the other 3 that are the same level as him that aren't getting a game, they're going to fuck off, let's be honest. They're not going to hang around in the SPFL in the backwater. No way.
I mean, it's all about relevant quality. We're not saying go out and get guys that are all 5 and 6 million, because we look at our bench and there is some that you can say, yep, definitely they are like for like or better. So, you're considering your Haksabanovic there, Abada, who's been largely on the bench and sort of coming in now. Obviously, he might be something that might move on because he's not happy being on the bench. But just use him as an example. There's just 2 guys straight off the bat that you say, you know what, they could be starters that I'd be happy with them starting. So the quality doesn't necessarily need to be so skyrocketed high in terms of the price that it makes it impossible to buy them and not play them. We've just got to be smart with where we're going around. But, you know, there should be a drop-off. And I've said this time again as well, and folk don't necessarily agree with it, but I've said, in a league that we play in, you need that sort of balance. You need sort of guys that you would say they're good for domestic games. But
Let's
you also
talk
need
about them then.
a wee bit of advanced quality.
We've got the perfect. Me and you have already obviously been on the text earlier on. I spoke to Terry about it yesterday. I will not get sick of raving about this guy because I think he brings both. I think he's an improvement at Champions League level for us at right back, and I think domestically he's also got that side to him where he's literally born to playing Scottish football as well. I've watched. I don't know if you've seen the replay of it where the boy tries to half him. He sort of jumps it, he rides a tackle. Another one, train, both. One shoulder drop. But Alistair Johnson also has final ball quality. He will get more assists than Juranovic ever did for Celtic in less time by miles. Easy days.
Yeah.
That guy is the perfect combination. He's the perfect recipe of ingredients that we want. Domestically, you can hang your hat on him. But in Europe, I think he's got the quality to do okay there as well. Yeah. Alistair Johnson's been the most impressive signing for January by a country mile.
Oh, he's slipped right in, hasn't he? He's got an old pair of trousers. Seems familiar, but he's, you know, honestly, I can't rave about him enough. And I've been all over singing his praise since he comes in. He just, I don't know, he just fits this perfect mold. You know, he's robust, he's strong, he's powerful. See when you see him striding, he's got pace. And as you say, that just summed him up. Guy tries to take him out, he just rides it, jumps over it. He's on the touch line. The guy tries a cheeky shoulder and he's like,
he sprinted in, no, Stevo.
Straight in the box.
But this guy's running, he's got the momentum behind him. He's running at Johnston. Johnston's from a standing point.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
He's got a mental strength as well. You listen to him talking, and I know sometimes folk think, you know, Canadians, Americans, they're a wee bit dreamy and a wee bit airy-fairy and they talk about nonsense, but they talk this hyperbole and stuff. Folks think that, but I quite like it. I love listening to him talk because he talks with this real enthusiasm and this passion, and it's not pretend, you know what I mean? He genuinely says what he feels, and you can see it when he's on the pitch. He's totally bought into it as well. And as you say, listen, we've landed on our feet because what's the opinion that folk always have? The rest of Scottish football is it's rough and tumble, and do you know what, he's ready to dish it out and give it, and that's talking about stepping up in quality. If we could echo that on the left hand side, then you know that's because looking across the back, if we're talking about upgrading or changing, I still listen.
Yep.
Terry's way. Starfelt. Yesterday, Jesus Christ, man, it was a wee bit ropey, wasn't it? But listen, I think he's a solid player. He's got a lot to offer. I think he's a great option. Could we increase quality on him? Absolutely.
I agree
Equally, I don't think Starfelt's the type of guy, if he was put in the bench, that he would have the ego to want to move on or push on. So there is wiggle room for certain positions that we can do it with. And as I say, if we can do that centre half with Starfelt, and maybe obviously Bernabei came on, much to my surprise, he done all right wee outing yesterday. It wasn't fantastic, but it was an improvement on what we've seen. If we could sort out an extra centre half and something on the left hand side that are similar to the increase we've seen in Johnson, well, that's a good starting point, isn't it? Because let's face it, it's going to be our defence that's going to be our undoing in Europe.
Stevo, styles make fights as well. See if you remember, Sound the Klaxon, the Martin O'Neill Klaxon, right? And I might be obsessed. Maybe I am. But for me, it was the best. That was the best team I've ever seen play for Celtic, right? I don't know if you remember about year 4, he changed from 3-5-2 to 4-4-2.
Yeah.
And it was to accommodate Jackie McNamara. He wanted to double down on Peter Livingston, who was the left winger causing us grief. And he was an annoying wee prick, but he was scoring. And the wing-back thing didn't work. But nobody envisaged us being able to go to a back four because we were so used to Baldy, Valharin, and Mialby. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's your back three. That's the three names first. Henrik up top, and then we'll see who else plays.
Yeah.
That changed. I wonder when you look at a Starfelt and you go, just because we signed, as you say, an improvement in that position, doesn't mean we're not going to be flexible for a back three.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the one thing for Starfelt, and I do agree, I thought yesterday there was a few moments, right? And I know you, Terry, are probably on a similar page. I've changed my tune on Starfelt to an extent this season, but there's also a bit when he goes, he's never been able to play as a right centre half. He's not a left-footed player. Could be Ashe is. Or if there was to be a further improvement in that area that could come in. Starfelt's on the right-hand side, put CCV in the centre of it, that would be my choice if there was a back three. Suddenly it's a completely different system and Starfelt can be a part of it. I think you're right. Wanting improvements in positions doesn't mean you want them gone out the club.
No, not
It
at
means
all.
you want competition. I think in the modern era, everyone sees it as a slight on your favourites or your heroes or the first team. It's like, no, we just want better all the time. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's been a case in point, by the way, can I just say very quickly, where I look at O now and I go, Ange obviously had his mind made up. He needed a different option from Kyogo. He wanted the physicality. Giacomakis ain't my boy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's good enough. That's the truth. That is, and I struggle with it just because I love Chaos's attitude. I loved him. On a cult hero level, I think we all liked him. But I think he feels, it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
You get an upgrade.
No, as I say, let's just quickly touch on Starfelt and what you say is, it is right. Listen, we come on and we go, no matter what show it is, and we have all these chats, and it's not, we're not shitting on players. We're not saying we don't want them. We're not saying they're not good enough. We're not saying the team's not underperforming. None of that. Like, his record alongside Carter Vickers has been phenomenal. But again, it's our right as fans to always want better. You might not get it, but there's nothing wrong with talking it out. And I think one thing I'll say about Starfelt is I think he's a great option. He's something that we've not seen at Celtic for a good while. He's an old school footballer playing in this modern style. He's aggressive. He's committed. He'll put his big Koopman in places that other players won't. But at the same time, he does have his limitations, and we have to point that out. I always say he's brilliant when the game's in front of him. See when the game's in front of him, and he just has to judge his positioning, tackle, header, easy. See when they get in behind and he's caught on the twist. That's when and that's maybe trainable.
He's
but
prone, though. He's prone to a rash of thought, like a moment of madness. That's his problem. He can't help it. Instinctively, he'll foul.
It reminds me. He reminds me. He's like a more mobile, more athletic Sviatchenko. Sviatchenko's second touch was a push or a grab, right?
That's true, mate.
That's the one thing that Starfelt needs to work out his game. But what I'm saying is, looking at what we're saying about improving the team, he's a great option to have, because see if you know you're going to be playing in a game that you're just going to be under the cosh, and you just need to get down and dirty and heat it away and not do anything fancy. Absolutely, what an option to have, because we can't always be silky with the ball at our feet and play the football. Sometimes you need that ugly defender, and he is that, and I would absolutely want to keep him. But if we're persistent on playing this style that we want to do, then there's nothing wrong with saying we should look for somebody else. But what you said about O is very true. I thought he had a really good looking outing when he came on. He's, again, I keep saying it, same with Johnson, he's strong, he's power, he's explosive. See that way he takes the ball down,
has Ange changed or shown his flexibility in the players he identifies required for Celtic? Because I think we thought all we were going to get out of him was technicians. I think he's showing with the Johnson and the O signing that Ange is acutely aware you need guys that can mix it. That's what I'm seeing anyway.
I kept using a term that I sort of made up, and you know what I mean when I say it is, we needed a hybrid striker, right? We needed the pace, we needed the power, and we needed the size, but they could also make the intelligent runs and have the ball in his feet. And so far, any time I've seen him come on, it looks like he's got all those attributes. As I say, the ball's lobbed into him, holds the boy off, he takes it down on a sixpence, turns and then explodes away from him. The pace and the power. He's unlucky. I think he should shoot early. He takes that wee extra touch. It drags him wider, and he pulls it across. But and then even you see the one at the near post. You see his run. He comes in and he darts to the front. He does all the things that Giakoumakis was doing, but with mobility and speed. So if he keeps
he's got
that
a bit
up,
more finesse as well. He's just got that wee bit of techers. I think that Giakoumakis
he's got a touch as
lacked
well.
a bit.
That's the one thing. He's got a touch. I'm not saying that he's. Listen, they're the headline. Get out there, but Son at Tottenham, he's got that turn of pace, and he's got that touch and control, and that's what he's got. You know, probably no coincidence that it's one of his fellow teammates, and they'll be sort of seeing these things. But
absolutely. And by the way, see when you're in that sort of company, Stevo, and that's who you're training with for, even whether it be a week break, you've got to come back with your ego a wee bit like lifted and feeling like, do you know what?
Yeah,
I'm up there with some elite footballers now, and he is that well regarded by them. He's in the mix to be a starter.
Look at the goal they get cut off. But the goal he get cut off is phenomenal. Ball just flashes in, touches again, turn, and he rifles it in. You know, he's still got to add more goals and get more chances and sort of build on this early sort of opinion that I've got. But at the moment, I've got to say, is it a better start than when we first saw Giakoumakis? Well, I would say so.
I agree with that, by the way, and that's hard to say because Giakoumakis was someone I fell in love with quite early. Something about emotionally, I liked him. Do you know what I mean? I just liked him I liked the
cut of his jib. There you go.
Steve, he was my pal. He was like, do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't my pal. But if I could have been pals with anyone in that Celtic team last season, that's who I'm going for a pint with, right? But I know Kai's has obviously been a wee bit hysterical. As you know, Kai's, I love your enthusiasm is infectious, mate. He says he has flashbacks to Brazilian Ronaldo. Let's get it real, like in terms of levels, miles away. But what he's trying to achieve, I totally get it. That's my buzzer going. Stevo, take it away.
Aye, right. Aye, as he flashbacks to Brazilian Ronaldo, well, listen, no, that's madness, right? But I appreciate the positivity, Kaiser. But no, listen, if you're talking about that sort of explosive power and running and energy, then, well, do you know what? It's shades of Ronaldo, is it not? It's interesting. I want to see you guys both. He's away getting whatever delivery it is. He's got this new gaff, and he's probably getting all sorts of cool merch and stuff and gadgets in his new gaff. But whilst we're here, what do you guys think? It's been early signs for couple of goals, one for penalty. Do you think is he deserving to get more time on the pitch? Because I thought when he came on, he picks up right into what he needs to do, and he brought an energy that we didn't necessarily have. Interesting when you look at his stats side by side, he eclipsed Kyogo in terms of touches, in terms of chances created, shots, etc. Now, Kyogo flits in and out of games, as we've seen before. There's times whenever, Kyogo will have 0 touches and then he'll pop up with an absolute worldie. But I thought that was interesting that when you see those stats for such a short period on the park, that he's, he outdone Kyogo's input up to that point. So that's an interesting one. I've just been
sorry.
No, listen, I've just been slagging you off that you've been getting all sorts of deliveries to this new gas. So I'm wondering what weird and wonderful thing it's going to be now.
I need cutlery, mate. I'm just cutting about many plates. I've eaten my dinner off an oven tray the last 2 nights, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this, man. It's embarrassing. I don't have any plates.
To catch you up, I commented on what Kaiser says. Obviously, it's hyperbole, but I think if he's talking about that pace and power, then do you know what? There is something there. But I also asked the question, what did they think of what they've seen him so far? Does he deserve more time on the pitch? And then brought up, obviously, that his stats showed that he had more input in his short period than Kyogo in the whole game, which is pretty interesting.
Kyogo's a very unpredictable footballer, but a predictable selection, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you're facing up to Celtic, whilst there's a million different puzzles to try and solve, and Ange does have a style of play, I think. You know what's coming, but how do you deal with it? But Kyogo undeniably is something that familiarity creeps in and you start going, well, I know what he'll do. Do you know what I mean? Keep him out the game as much as you can.
What about
is a conundrum. Go on.
What about Kyogo's miss yesterday? What's your thoughts? I mean, again, we talk about expecting too much, but I mean, come on, that is verging on unforgivable for me. That part of the game, it's got to go in.
Don't give him time to think, and he'll do okay. Kyogo gets time to think, and I don't think he's a natural born finisher. I don't think he's ever been like as out and out a number 9 as what Celtic use him as. I think Ange's seen potential for the abilities and the skills set he's got. He said that would work as a number 9. Mm-hmm. But I think Kyogo's kind of been adapting to the role as well. And I think when you see wee moments like we did at the weekend, there you go, that's not as like that's where the natural number 9 that is meat and drink. It's in the back of the net. He's got that time to think. He does all the hard work, by the way.
Should he leave it, or do you think he is aware that he's not really done that much in the game and thinks I need a goal? Should he leave it for Jota?
Oh God, I'd be disappointed if he left it for Jota because I would say his bottle went then. Mm-hmm. If he left it for Jota, I would go, wow, that's not a strike. I want a hungry striker. I want them to be a wee bit greedy. I think that's part of it. I think you need that. It's interesting though. I mean, look, Kyogo's goal record this season is sensational. Again, it's picking holes, you know what I mean? Because we're just fussy bastards. Whilst Ange was in that position, Stevo, and we're looking at a phase 2 of Ange, I think that's quite exciting. We've just spoke about there a different type of profile of player we've seen coming in January. And Johnston, a case in point. And we're beginning to think Ange is gearing us up for a different version maybe of Celtic. Not a million miles away from season 1, not a million miles away from season 2, but he's adapting to his surroundings, and also in Europe will be as pissed off as us that he's not quite had that, that sort of. I think he probably backed himself to have had more of an impact, if I'm honest, in Europe so far.
Oh, definitely.
That'll piss him off. He's got an ego, and I keep saying it. I'm like, it's not a criticism of an ego. There's nothing wrong with having an ego, but with big egos and with big expectations and big reputations, 12 out of 20 clubs, Stevo, in the English Premier League have sacked their manager this season alone. This season. Yep. Now, we have watched since September, Ange been linked. Brighton, Crystal Palace, Southampton, etc. The list goes on. Mm-hmm. Even Man United last summer at one point, there was brief talk of that. Leeds United seemed to be really strong links. Where does Ange view that as now a hunting ground for him? Because I would always have thought initially when he came to Scotland, not because he's been a dick. I love it at Celtic, but also that gets me away in. That gets me the inroad to the biggest show in town. But he's 57, 58, Stevo. This is nobody's fool, right? We're not dealing with an idiot here. Mm-hmm. 12 out of 20 managers sacked this year. Brendan Rodgers, mutual consent. Bullshit. That's a payoff. Sacked. Right? Are we now almost going to benefit off this? Because why would you leave Celtic for 6 months somewhere? And Ange's methods are so contrived and so Ange, if you like. Ange Ball. Remember that saying? That used to be the story. Ange Ball takes time to adapt. The one thing the EPL's proven with 12 out of 20 managers gone, Steve, was you don't get time.
Yep.
It'd be a hell of a lot to leave Celtic for. And bear in mind, he's a messiah at Celtic in the view of the majority of fans. To leave that for the EPL, I think brings far more jeopardy now. I think they're kind of doing us a favour, these idiot Germans that just sack managers willy-nilly. I think it'd put him off.
The first thing I'd say, besides it being put off, and again, listen, to make it abundantly clear before I move on, I'm with you. I think Ange has been an absolute, gift from God to us. We've landed on our feet. I think he's a tremendous manager. I think he's got great vision. He's got long-term vision, and he's exactly what Celtic need. However, I personally, all these jobs he's getting linked with, I don't think he's getting any of them. I don't even think he's getting offered them, right? Now, folk don't want to hear that, but let me tell you why I think that is.
Go on.
One, would it put them off? Of course, it's going to put anybody off the thought that I can go there and I'm going to get the bullet, potentially, if it don't happen, right? I think Ange Postecoglou, let's just say in England, right? Who takes him on and who's willing to take him on? Honestly, mid-table, not in threat of winning anything, not in threat of relegation, or team that's pretty much going to get relegated, but there's a project to getting back up for the championship, right? See your top teams that want instant results, they ain't suffering 4 draws and a loss, whatever it is, your first couple of games. It's not happening, right? Ange Postecoglou is a manager who, proven for his previous teams, he's a longer term. He's almost like a project to begin with, and he builds it up. And you need time. You don't have time in England, and you don't have time in these big teams. That's not me saying he's not capable of doing it. There's 2 different things here. That's me just saying he's not getting the time to implement his plans. Whereas if he goes to a team who are mid-table, who are happy to just sit in and go through transition, or a team who are saying, listen, we're going to get down, but don't worry, job secure, get us back up, and it's a long-term project. Those are the only teams that, in my opinion, that are likely to take him on. And I'm not saying that he would go to them, but they're certainly going to be, maybe, in my opinion at least, more appealing. Yes, he wants all the big things. He wants to play with the best players. He wants the biggest budget, I dare say, and he wants to play in Europe. But as you say, he's given that track record. You say, oh, do you want to come to Chelsea? Well, whatever it is. How many managers? They've sacked X amount of managers in 2 seasons. Well, all right, I fucking hold me back for that. Or you could get somebody that was mid-table, the likes of Leeds, and say, we'll give you relatively decent funds. We understand what you want to do. We're kind of safe. We're ready to bed in and sit in and see how it goes. And then if it doesn't yield results after a period of time, then pull that trigger.
The time's so short, isn't it? It's so short.
So for me, it's not that I don't think he's capable. I just don't think it's realistic to see. And as the type of guy he is ambitious. But as you say, his age and all these other factors, it comes into it to think, what do I want and what am I comfortable with? Do I want all the opera for a short period? Probably not.
He's in his late 50s, Stevo, right? And if you actually look at his career, if there's one thing I've observed, he also must like being the big fish in a small pond, because that is his career. You look at his career, he's never been in the big waters, really. You know, Australia is, I mean, to qualify for that World Cup or the Asian Cup success, I'm not trying to discredit it, but look at the teams. They were one of the favourites for that, and rightfully so. Yeah. Right? South Korea or Australia, in my opinion, I mean, that was a golden era for Australia. The J-League, he had more funds than almost any other manager. Suddenly he's in the Asian Champions League with them, straight in. In the Australian, the A-League, I don't know enough about those clubs, whether he was at a big one or not, but I'm going to guess he was the biggest name as a manager by the time he won his 4th title. Right, with his 2nd club, I would think he was a big fish there. Celtic, he's a big fish in a small pond. Suddenly, would that suit him to be like, wait, sorry, who are you? You're just a rich guy who's not a football guy. Ange's a football guy. Yeah. I'm not criticising him. People think I'm slagging him off. I'm not slagging him off. I think he needs the backing and he needs the autonomy, Stevo, to do what he's got to do. On you go, Ange. Breathe. Just give him the oxygen to bring his football into it and his philosophies. I think he's got more control right now at Celtic, I think, than maybe even Brendan ever had. Yeah. I don't think this is all out of design. I think a lot of it is we just found ourselves in a place where, you know, we need to appoint you. You've got 2 minutes to actually turn our summer around, and well, you may as well have the keys to do it. I think the nature of the EPL right now might just be going against it as a league of reputation now. I think a lot of managers are now going, fuck that. You're just there, unless you want a payday. If you just want paid, sound. But I think guys like Ange go, I don't know what I would do another £20 million. Like, I'm a millionaire as it is. You see my missus? I'm doing all right, mate. It's like that. Another £20 million not going to... He's already found what he wants from life, if you know what I mean. Whereas maybe a 38-year-old, what is it, Nagelsmann or something that was a Bayern? He might
Yes.
go for paydays left, right, and centre across Europe, right? Just because he's like, oh my God, I can't believe they're going to pay me that. Who cares if they sack me in 6 months?
Aye.
I think we've got. It's actually strengthened our hand the way the EPL's actually behaved this season, in my opinion, pal.
No, I totally agree with everything you've said there. Right now, we've got an opinion or a perception of what Ange's like, but I do genuinely believe that he seems fairly settled where he is, and he's ambitious, but not at the cost. Anything goes. He's not willing to be ambitious and throw caution to the wind just to try and reach those ambitions. He's very measured. He's very sensible, and just to again touch on it, I don't think that the EPL thing has done any manager any favours to want to get down there. And for these reasons, as you say, one, he's got a wee bit of autonomy here. He's not going to get that, but he's had time, right? Okay, as you say, if it didn't work out, we maybe would have turned and it went opposite way for him. But generally speaking, he's had that wee bit of time to settle, and then he's turned it around and it's went all in our favour. He's not getting that down south. I would be more worried if a team from Germany or someone came in from a league that is historically more settled
Top five,
managers.
top five in Europe,
Yeah,
and they'll
that are-
go, here's the
that are more
project.
settled. Yeah.
Sell us your vision, and if you give us a brilliant, like, say this interview, he does the PowerPoint thing for 20 minutes and goes, this is what we could do in 4 years. And they go, you'll get 4 years then. That appeals to him. That would appeal to him. England, it's hash bash. They don't know what they're doing. Too many people with too much money that don't know anything about football. That is what that league is in a nutshell.
It's
football
fantasy
guys.
football. No, it's fantasy football now. I mean, look at the rise in Newcastle, for example. That's wild. Now, listen, they're playing good football and they're doing well, but there's just a prime example, right? I wouldn't be surprised equally that if next season that bubble burst and he's the next guy to be sacked. That's how unpredictable English football is. I just don't see that as being it. But another thing as well, and again, folk don't want to hear this, there's very much the attitude of nobody cares about Scottish football. Nobody cares what your achievement in Scottish football is, right? See if I've been totally honest. See if you've been totally honest and you are one of these big EPL teams. Nobody cares what you've done in Japan or Australia. Nobody cares that you managed Australia. They don't care. That's, to them, nothing. They'd rather you had 3 previous jobs in the EPL with mixed results than done what he's done.
Totally.
So
Alan Pardew has probably made more money out of management than Postecoglou. Alan fucking Pardew. It may as well be Alan fucking Partridge. Do you know what I mean? It's an embarrassment, Steve, when you look at that.
It's a merry-go-round. I mean, look at it here, right? This is my prediction. Brendan Rodgers will be brought in at Chelsea at the end of the season. Right, that's what I think is going to happen. I think that Leicester have held off because they thought they were going to get an approach for him, and then have just had to eventually sack him. But whether folk like Rodgers or not, Rodgers is an expensive manager to get, and now he's sitting there for free. So see your Tottenhams and your Chelseas. Your Tottenhams and your Chelseas, they are going to sweep him up. And I'd probably say with Chelsea because of the link there. And then what merry-go-round are you going to get? Who's coming back? Let's play. Is it going to be Poch again? Another random fucking team? Is it Mourinho again? I don't know, right? It's just the same folk.
I know. Do you know the thing is, Steve-O, right? Just to cut in. Do you know what's so funny? Is managers don't resign anymore. They never resign. Why? There's too much Wonga, mate, at stake. So they all, like you're right.
Alan Pardew was on a 5-year deal, about 13 million a year, son. Mental like that.
Fucking wild.
So not Alan Pardew, sorry, what's his name?
Alan Partridge.
No. Aha! No, the boy, what's his name? The boy that gets sacked with Chelsea. Potter. He was on insane. I think he's waiting to get sacked. So like, give me my big fat wedge. Can I say you, man?
I was just thinking Alan Partridge in charge of Chelsea. I'm just like, God, Partridge. On you go.
Partridge does look like Partridge, doesn't he? Really, he was like the blazer and tie as well. So he did look at Partridge.
That's good, pal, mate. But I don't even know what I was going to say. I was saying on to play devil's advocate yesterday with Terry, because he was winding me up. He was only drinking water, right? It's not what we do in the PMP. That's banned, by the way. He's going to up his game. But I was like, the one exception to the EPL rule could be Leicester, because they're the only ones that actually, we got a last manager for Celtic, and whilst Rodgers looks like he's been shite this year, and he has been, he also won them an FA Cup. He was, 2 minutes away, an injury time goal away for Champions League football with him again. That wasn't a bad strike rate to have. And then, do you know what? By the time they've left, mutual consent, all that box, he'd probably lasted there longer than the average manager tenure in the EPL is.
Yeah,
They would
surprising.
probably look at that and go, that was actually good work. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it was a successful period. It just came to the end of its cycle. Obviously, he's not going to go because we need to pay him money. I wonder if they could be the exception. They go, we've got a pathway. They might be the ones that look at Postecoglou direct for Celtic differently to the other ones. And I agree with your snobbery, by the way. I completely agree with you. I just wonder if they could be the exception to that rule. But notwithstanding that, I think they would need to offer him one hell of a deal. And I don't mean just money. I mean, what's the project? What's the vision? How much time have I got? What's the funds going to be in place for the summer, etc.? They would need to really push their boundaries. But I do think, in terms of their opinion, not Celtic fans' opinion, not Ange's opinion, but from Leicester's point of view, they might be the only club less snobby about having a wee glance over it, but, ruffling the feathers or sending a wee wink and a nudge to Postecoglou's team. Do you know what I mean?
Even when you look at Leicester, their general playing style over the past few seasons hasn't been too far removed from the sort of Celtic type style. They've tried to do the fundamentals right and play a decent sort of brand of football. Obviously, it's fell away a wee bit. I hadn't actually really considered them that much. And again, folk will say that why would you leave for Leicester? But in terms of sustainability, they're probably more compelling an option than these top level teams that folk are throwing out. The likes of your Tottenham stuff. I think that, those ones for me, those are just paper talk. Those are just trying to, create a wee bit of disturbance and ruffle some feathers. I don't think there's any real truth in it. So yeah, do you know what? Potentially, that is maybe something that would appeal to them. I think that they're realistic to where they are on the totem pole. Their league win was a total out of nowhere, never going to happen again. They had a wee bit of Champions League, and then they've always been a team that have tried to do the right things. In terms of what they would offer them as well, though, I think that the fact that they're probably less likely to throw about as much money makes them more realistic and makes them more, maybe even, dare I say, appealing. That you're not just getting told to spend all this money and spend all this.
Stevo, is this the perfect week for Scottish media? Now, forget the English stuff, but for Scottish media to link Ange with jobs. 2 sackings in the space of 2 days in the EPL.
Oh.
The Daily Record, the Sun, they're all just licking their lips going, how to, the points gap's never changing. Celtic just seem to keep that going, no bother. But now, the lead up to let's be honest, it's not even last chance saloon. It's probably beyond that for Rangers, right? We all know it. But deep down, they've got to force the narrative that there is still a wee glimpse. There's a wee hope, a wee tiny wee hope. Now they've got their talking point. The unsettling factor or the rock the boat factor they've got has occurred not by anything to do with Celtic and just by luck, not because Rangers have done anything impressive, just by luck. These 2 jobs come available and they will link him all week with this shit. They will rock the boat with it. You know what I'm talking about, mate. There's going to be headlines packed with it.
It's a total layup. There's no doubt that the first thing, as soon as that came over, they're wild like, right, go, this is it. We've got all this crap. You know what I mean? They're straight in. He's been linked for this, he's been linked for this. And I dare say, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Ange had to swat away some very stupid questions like, what do you think of such and such a job, right? And it'll be treated with the contempt it deserves. But listen, we're Monday. This is it, the start of the week. So, strap yourself in because you can expect all sorts of piles of shite to be printed and put out there and links and everything up over the next sort of week. I've already seen the talk of, as long as we win the second half of the season league, that's all we can ask for. And we're going to show Celtic that we're better and we know it. And then, listen, this is just another extra wee grenade that they think they can roll into the room and cause disruption with. I don't see anything in it. I don't think Ange Postecoglou is going to leave Celtic anytime soon, and I certainly don't think he's going to leave Celtic mid-season. So it'll be treated with the contempt it deserves.
Stevo, you've got the gift to say it'll be treated with the contempt it deserves, because we've got a manager in situ who has been there, seen it, done it, got the T-shirt. Not the Bhoycie Bus T-shirt. David Ferguson's asking when they'll arrive. They're all bought, ordered, submitted. So it's 4 to 6 weeks, they said, but we're hoping for 4 weeks, David. But that will be straight to you. And every person who's bought one, we end up selling a few more than I thought. Stephen, I'll be leaving a wee note on each one. I'm going to, not that anyone cares, but I'll leave a wee handwritten note on each one just to thank you all so much for apart from you, Steve, I'm not leaving you a note because that'd just be weird. But everyone else who's bought one, I will leave a wee note to. Just to say a big thanks. Anyway, back to the point I'm making. The fact you think it'll be treated with the contempt it deserves, I completely agree with. Imagine if it was Mickey Beale in charge. If he were to be linked with said jobs. This is the boy I've always said that cannot stop talking.
Yep.
Just before we go, there's a wee bit of a noise up, and I know you like having a wee look over the fence. I'm the same, Steve. It's fun. And anyone who thinks, we should just focus on ourselves all the time, I don't think that's competition. I think you always have to be nosy at what else is going on.
Boy.
What do you think his paymasters make of him talking about having substantial funds and a budget better than what, or something he thinks is extremely beneficial of what a Rangers manager would have had in recent years? Basically, we all know you're saying you've got more money to spend than Steven Gerrard. Is he aware of how, as a marketing sense, how bad that is? Because when you go bid 20 ginger bottles for a Todd Cantwell again, for example, you get asked for, no, mate, you've got money, mind. You've told the world.
Yeah.
That sort of naivety in the press, again, I just can't help but observe it and go, fucking hell. Well, that is not our guy. Our guy would never, in the last year, see when he came into a wreck, Steve-O. I don't remember him giving any card away. Poker face the whole way through it. Never felt sorry for himself either. What is he talking about? Why would you do that? Because deep down, see, the other thing is, you go, substantial to them is pennies, Steve-O. Pennies, mate. Like, nothing they can make. But now you've just inflated whatever bid you put in for someone as the selling club. You go, fuck that. You told the world you've got money. This guy is a rookie manager. And it's about time he's called out for being the rookie that he is, because he deserves it, mate. He just can't stop talking shite.
Listen, I saw that the other day, and I sort of wry smile and a wee laugh about it. I don't know. It's just another episode for the madness that is him, isn't it? Like, as you say, it's surely going to be counterproductive to whatever it is they want to try and achieve if he's coming out and saying they've got money. But equally as well, it surely puts them and their board in a position of real pressure, because if they go out and, I don't know, spend like 6 million and that's it, they'll go, where the fuck's all the money? That it's as simple as that. I'm just compelled to know where the money's actually coming from, because I'm not going to sit here.
He's trying to wrap the pressure on the board, Steve-O.
I think he's foolish if he's trying to do that. I think he's foolish if he's trying to do it.
If you go public, though, it's kind of forcing their hand. He's saying, we've got money. The boy's like, I've never told you that. Well, it's out there now that you do. You better find some.
But the point is, mate, it's counterproductive to everything he said. He's actually contradicting himself. He came out a couple of weeks ago and said something along the lines of, there is funds there that are relative to where we are.
He basically said,
but I don't need a lot of money to compete with Celtic.
He basically said, Steve, he basically said, I've got more money than what Gerrard was given this summer. Yeah. That is, in a nutshell, what he said.
But that's what I'm saying. That's just mental, but because 1 minute he's turning around saying, I don't need a lot of money to compete with Celtic, right? Which to me was tempering expectation off we're not going to spend a lot, by the way. And now he's saying that. So you've got to ask yourself, which one is it? Now, I've always predicted from since he came in that I expect Rangers to spend between 10 and 15 million pounds. Now, folk will snort at that and laugh, and absolutely you should be because of what we've seen and what we know of them. But Rangers have always historically been good at pulling stuff for the magic Wonga tree or getting folk to buy pointless shares or some other shite that raises money and spending money because they are completely the opposite to risk averse. They don't give a fuck. Do you know what? They will just spend the money. So, like, I expect them to spend between 10 to 15 million pounds.
They remind me of a Saturday night. That's what I'm like on a Saturday night. I don't give a fuck, mate. Like, I said, four Jaeger bombs. Okay, I'll not have electricity in the morning. Who cares? You just go all out, eh?
Aye.
That's what they're like on a day-to-day business, and they wear shirts and ties to make these decisions.
And that's what they'll do. So I expect them to spend money. You know, if we look at it with the Gerrard thing, he given a lot of money, again, that equally they didn't have. So it's not as if it's new to them to do that. And they will do it. Have they got to sell some players? They've obviously going to clear out wages and stuff, but wages only...
UEFA eyes as well. This is what makes this all... It muddies the water a bit because they are listed to being under financial watch by UEFA right now for FPP potential. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say they've breached anything because that would be, that is a bit wrong. But they are 100% under the eye of UEFA now. They're like, we're keeping an eye on what you're doing. I think that negated their January spend. I think that's played a huge part. He's went against the grain with this shit, mate. Like, I'm looking at it going, I'm not even sure you're capable of doing that until funds from a trusted source such as Champions League money, which will he navigates the playoff rounds the same way Gio did last year, which I'm not convinced he'll do. I think we all know that's very tricky. Then you could spend, but to do it in advance, I think that'd be.
See, I think they will, and it's just simply they will do what Celtic hadn't done seasons gone by, which will take that front end risk for the hope of the riches at the opposite. You know, as I say, on paper they've got up to maybe 8 guys that could be out of contract now. As I say, let's just for talking sake, let's just pluck a number out of thin air and say they let all those guys go. That frees up, let's just call it 150 grand a week, right? That's fine. You can offer guys wages, but that 150 grand a week saving or whatever it is doesn't translate into money up front to go and buy folk. If you get freebies, you can give them decent wages, but it's not actual hard cash to spend. Are they going to sell players? I've looked across their team and I thought,
there's no value.
Tangible. The only two that I can think of that I think that they could potentially sell, not for great amounts of money, is probably Lundstrom and Kamara. Lundstrom would find a team in the Championship or something quite easily, right? So they maybe get 2 million or something for him, potentially. Somebody will give them that. And likewise, Kamara, maybe somebody will pay 2 million, 2.5 for him. Not big amounts of money, but that for me is the only real sort of tangible assets with value in them I think they're likely to get. So it'll be freeing up wages, and then as I say, it'll be spending the front end, hoping to get it back at the other.
Steve-O, it's great having fun with all this, and we obviously do we miss Bob McBob in the chat because he was great fun just to throw a bit like a wet tracksuit in the chat, right? And that was fun. But there's a serious implication here as well that Joseph McGonagall's bringing. Yet again, late with accounts. Yep. Right? Folk will go, you're obsessed. It's not our job to be obsessed. But I've also lived through a time, in my opinion, I watched a sport that was cheated. There was cheating going on. There was guys they couldn't afford to pay that they were paying through means that were illegal, right? Why is that? And it's not. I mean, no one cares what the Bhoycie Bus thinks about Rangers accounts. I get that. But see, from the MSN point of view, a proper journalist, Steve-O, someone who's good at his craft, someone who's got the courage of their convictions, someone who's got a set of cojones goes, why are they even, I know it's only been a few days late, but why is that okay? Why are we to almost expect it? And why is no one allowed to call it out in the MSM? Why is nobody saying, what the fuck are you up to here? No, particularly when you come into it and you go, their track record? the team that died, the club that, like, this is insane that wouldn't be more of a focal point because of what happened in the past. Are they really just want to turn a blind eye all over again and just, it'll not happen. Chick Young go, oh no, they're fine. Shut up, mate. There is a reason these accounts are late. If these guys are worth their weight in salt, they know how to get accounts on time for public record. They know how to do that, Stevo. All right? So the reason they're not will be murky. There's a reason these things are delayed. It's not because they went, oh, do you know, Stevo, you're right, we're a wee bit late for the Monday Club today. It's not one of those ones, mate.
Yeah.
Let's get real now.
Do you know, again, I know we're talking about them and my Celtic podcast, folk don't like it, but, you know, it's remiss to not talk about it. You have got to look at us. You've got to look at where your opposition's at and talk about it. It's all relevant, right? The one thing that's interesting for me is I'm genuinely, morbidly interested to see what the accounts are going to kick up, because let's bear in mind that the last accounts that they brought up showed them as albeit a very negligible minus 1 million, right? And that was after the 55 and their big European run. So that was one of the most successful periods, marketable periods of their recent history that were brought in. We did bring in record amounts of revenue. Now, obviously, the new accounts should account for, I think, Bhoycie, maybe Aribo, bit of Champions League, the 7 tops they've brought out, the various other things that they've ripped folk off for. Right?
You're not even exaggerating. This is so true.
So it's interesting to see where they are actually at, because our projections are so good. And as I say, we're talking about 112 million projected, but what folk need to remember is that doesn't mean that's how much you've got. It's like you or I, you can start the month, you get a couple of grand in your bank, that's your wage paid in, but over the course of that month, you've got wages and it whittles down. So as I say, our 50 million in the bank, by the time it comes round, might be 35, it tops up. But what's theirs and how's it whittling down? That's what I want to see, because they've had these big shots of financial injection.
Correct. This should be the accounts they're waving about like a pair of panties in the air. They're like, check us, we are back. That's the narrative that should be happening. A Europa League final run, that would have brought them in revenue they didn't expect. Nobody sees you selling Bhoycie for 18 million. That's a 17.5 million profit on a player in a year. That's incredible business. Aribo, 6-7 million. Champions League, 20 million. Which, funnily enough, they're the only board ever to play down the impact Champions League money can bring in.
And they had the highest ticket package available.
Yes. So you think about it and you go, these should be accounts, Steve, that aren't late. They should be ones that they're going, come on board, come see them. We're back. They're hiding inside, mate. There's no way this is a slip of the mind, shall we say.
No.
I didn't realise it was, it's April.
What'll happen is, I think it'll be, as they've previously done, and Celtic have done this before as well, they will release these things at a time where there's something bigger that masks it.
Friday nights used to be, remember that when it was like, remember they used to do the what was it, the AGMs and the wee marquees?
At the away end and the 10 and the pop-up gazebo.
And it, like, funnily enough, they announced it on like Friday at like 11:59 p.m. You're like, no worries. But anyway, I get why some people would watch what we're talking about just now, Steve, and go, focus on their own team. Well, I'm sorry. When we did that before, it turns out there was seasons I've watched of football that actually wasn't, Steve, the product I thought I was watching. People don't want to admit that, and I'm not a lunatic with all this stuff. I've never dedicated shows just purely on Rangers finances or anything. But from a sporting context, I feel like I was a wee bit duped. And I think it's only fair that when your biggest rival, with their reputation, not just reputation, with the facts of the history they've had, with the fact that they're a second version of themselves right now, which already no one wants to write, when they can't bring accounts on time, having had, as you just said there, revenue streams they have not seen since their recent formation in 2012, this should be something they're throwing about. They're showing off. The fact they're late, there's a story there already, and we all fucking know it, mate. Why should we sit in silence this time?
Well, the thing as well is it's got to be mentioned, because to tie it up in a big bow is we've spoke about how much money we've got, what are we going to spend, how are we going to improve, right? We've now got a team that have been historically bad financially, in debt, and you've got a manager telling us they're going to spend more than's been made available previously. So it all comes together. So we as Celtic fans should be looking at Rangers and saying, if these Rangers fans are getting told this is how much money they're going to get to spend, then what are we getting? Because we're better off. What's their situation that allows them to spend that amount of money compared to ours? So I really want to know, what is their financial situation? Because if it's not great and they're still willing and able, apparently, to give him more money than any other manager, then that's got to have kicked back for us as Celtic sports to say, hold on, wait a minute, right? If they're doing that and they're in that state of affairs, then what are we spending? So they do go hand in hand. If folk don't want to, take care of your own house, but as I say, if you were sitting there and we spent nothing and Rangers were going out and firing money when they don't have it, you'd be going, what's the problem here? Some folk could take a step back and go, let them do it and they'll kill themselves again. They'll go bust. That's fine, you can have that. But I'd be like, no, they're improving their team. Whether they can afford to do it or not, we should be doing the same. So there is a reason to talk about these things. Absolutely. Are you on a silent? Have you muted yourself, sir?
Stevo, I've not been able to hear you for the last 2 minutes there. My mic,
he just muted himself. Nah, listen, mate. It was a mini.
I was like this, nodding along, going, hopefully no one will notice. I'll try and fix this.
A mini tangent. All I was saying was that, we talk about these things and they go hand in hand, because we want to know what they've got, because they've got a manager coming out and saying they're going to be spending more than they have previously. And if they bring out accounts and it shows that they're not that well off, that they're willing to do it, then we're going to go, hold on, wait a minute, how much are we spending when we've got so much more than them? So
it's okay to be poking fun at them to a point, and then you go, by the way though, if you give carte blanche to these people, what if they were to win a league? Oh, suddenly we'll want to make a point of it then. We'll suddenly want to go all in then, Stevo. Do you know what I mean? When it starts costing us points, league titles. I ain't having that.
In the first, we're in a real strong position for the first time. Well, I say for the first time, we've always been ahead, but we're in such a strong financial position that this is the time now. We've maybe had 3 occasions where we've been in a position that we really should have pushed on and never done it. There isn't really much excuse now. This is the time to actually dip into those reserves and start to make a difference. Do you know what I mean? We need to use our financial strong arm and bat away and then let them spend, and it won't make a difference because we've got it.
I also think, not because I think my voice is important, Steve. In fact, I'm the most self-deprecating person you'll ever meet in your life. But notwithstanding that, there's 108 people watching right now that are all Celtic-minded, right? We're all Celtic fans. I think we've got a duty to go. I know, I love that by Monty. I think we've got a duty to call out if we think that our main rivals, and they are our main rivals, the anticipation will start building this week. So whether we want to accept it or not, you don't get that anticipation playing Aberdeen on Saturday.
No.
I ain't doing it against a financially juiced up side again. I ain't going down that road again. It's bullshit. Well, we might go down it, but I'm not going to do it without kicking and screaming this time. Do you know what I mean? I'm not just going to pander to it and go, oh, well, they might die in. It's funny. It's not funny. It's cheating. It's utterly cheating if it were to become that. And I'm not saying it's at that level yet, but I can't help but already turn an eye towards the accounts, deadlines. I ran a business, for fuck's sake, Steve, right, which was marginal in terms of turnover, right? But at one point, it was about $250,000 a year, right? Guess what? I knew when the accounts needed to be done. I knew when my tax returns needed to be done. They were never like, I didn't realise it was April. So there's a reason it is not already, been done. And that tells me something they don't want to share is going to have to be shared eventually. And right now they're holding back. I just don't want to go down a road where I'm watching a duped, rigged almost sport. I think we're better than that now. I think it's 2023, Steve. I think we should be allowed to have honest conversations about what's going on, as opposed to it being conspiracy theories or any of that bollocks. I think we're in a position now, in a space where we can go, okay, the biggest example of all time actually did happen only 11 years ago. And that was your biggest rivals were liquidated. Why on earth, within just over a decade later, would you see the same sort of warning signs, see the same sort of signals, same sort of hints, the same sort of clues, and just stay silent? I think that's totally remiss of us as Celtic fans. And I also think, whilst it's fun, I don't know, I just worry that, are we playing against a team yet again that is going to financially dope itself to a point where it can compete with Celtic? Fuck that, mate. I'm not having that again.
I think the means that they'll go around, I think they'll be, I'd expect them to be a bit more cute with whatever way they do it. I just think it's going to be simply based on spending cash, rolling the dice, and just try to buy better players with money that they don't necessarily have, and hoping that they get the results out of it. I think that's the big thing for them. I think if you're Rangers, your main goal, obviously you want to go into a fresh season, you want to win the league. But I think the big goal for them is just getting the Champions League. That's a win. That's a trophy. The money that comes with that is going to eclipse whether they won a league or not, whether their fans want to hear that. Same, even to the extent with us. See, if we didn't win the league, but getting the Champions League, all right, it's an absolute gutter. But in financial terms, in business terms, it's more an achievement, money-wise, and that's their trophy. Their trophy is the financial money, the big sum that comes with Champions League. So goal number one for them is to get that, and that's why I think they're going to spend the money. I don't think it's going to be through some sort of ill means. I just think they're going to get themselves into debt to try and boost over the top of what they've put out. Whereas we won't do that. We don't need to do that. But listen, we're getting into this week and it'll be interesting. I look forward to their accounts being sorted at the back door at 1:30 on Friday morning next week or something like that.
They don't want to do it before this game, eh? We were talking about the momentum shift with 2 vacancies in the EPL, and it could stir the pot that Ange could be going, and that might unsettle us. They've clearly got something unsettling going on below them that they don't want released in the build up to. As I've described it as, it's not even last chance saloon. It's not a hope in hell saloon they're in right now. But were they to win, they'll still believe they can do something. With the news coming out that they're obviously trying to keep under the radar just now, doesn't give them the best chance on Saturday.
No.
But Saturday, we're on the hype train, Stevo, or the hype bus, we should say. And it will be great fun this week. We build up to basically, if we haven't already guaranteed it, we win Saturday, and it is, we're like, put the ribbons on. We can do it, and we can lift the trophy. It's trophy time. And by the way, when we win that trophy, the name that comes on this bus will blow people's tiny minds, and that will be fun. But it's been brilliant this Monday afternoon, Stevo. It's a shame that you're not off every Monday, mate, because I would do this every single Monday with you. Hopefully we'll get a different wee member of the bus.
There'll be plenty of opportunities. My shifts will be predictable, and I'll send them to you, and we can work out when we're going to be there. But I'm always good for either the Monday or the Wednesday morning if I'm off.
Fantastic, mate. Well, you're welcome on the bus anytime you like, and you know that. Anyway, a big thanks to over 110 people watching right now live on a Monday afternoon. We cannot thank you enough. It's only episode 2 of the Lunchtime Monday Club. Me and Jonathan will be back tomorrow. Sudden death. I mean, sudden death. It's death by 1,000 cuts. That's what it is right now, Jonathan.
Speaking of things that are over.
He's in no man's land. But we'll see you all tomorrow night. Thanks again, Stevo. Thanks to all you in the chat. Cheers.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. They won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I'm like in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.